For years, we've all been focused on our physical carbon footprints. The cars we drive, the stuff we buy, how we power our homes. But while we've been looking there, this massive, kind of invisible environmental challenge has been growing right under our fingertips. So today we're going to dive in to the hidden cost of our digital world.
It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer is, well, it's incredibly complex. Every single time you stream a movie, or ask an AI a question, or even just hop on a video call, there is a real physical consequence. And we're here to pull back the curtain on that hidden impact.
Okay, let's put a number on this. 3%. Right now, data centers, the actual physical brains of the internet, are already eating up about 3% of all global energy. But here's the kicker. That number is on track to double by 2030. All of a sudden, the cost of our virtual world starts to feel very, very real.
And that, of course, brings us to the cloud. We love to think of it as this, weightless, magical thing that just exists somewhere. But behind every click, every stream, every single thing you do online, there's a massive, power-hungry physical infrastructure. Let's take a closer look. See, this is the part that connects it all. Our digital actions have a direct line to energy consumption. Every single byte we save, every algorithm that runs, it's pulling electricity from a grid. And in a lot of places, that grid is still burning fossil fuels. It's the perfect example of how the virtual world creates a very, very physical impact.
So if we have carbon footprints to measure our physical impact, how in the world do we measure our digital one? Well, it turns out we need a whole new metric for this new era, and people are starting to call it the data footprint.
Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is just like a carbon footprint, but for data. It's a way to actually quantify the total environmental cost of our digital lives. Everything from the energy it takes to store your photos in the cloud to the insane amount of power needed to train the next big AI model. This is the concept we've all got to get our heads around. And this is where it gets really interesting, because we can take this abstract idea and make it totally tangible. Sending a 1 gig email attachment, that can generate about 50 grams of CO2. Training a large-scale AI model, get this, that can have the same carbon impact as several cars over their entire lifetimes. And all that old data just sitting around on company servers, that's costing millions in totally wasted energy.
And this is exactly why the whole concept of ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance, is expanding so fast. It's not just about a company's factories or its supply chains anymore. Now, it's also about how responsibly they manage their digital resources.
So, let's start with E for environmental. Traditionally, right, this meant stuff like factory emissions, physical waste, but now it's being completely redefined to include a company's digital energy use. Investors, regulators, they're all starting to ask some really tough questions about how efficient a company's cloud setup is.
And hey, this goes way beyond just the environment. When we talk about governance, the G, we're now looking at things like responsible AI practices and how ethically data is managed. The social pillar, S, that connects to things like digital equity and data privacy. It's really a whole new, holistic way of looking at corporate responsibility in the digital age. Now, you might be thinking this is all just about being a good corporate citizen, but here's the real twist. There's an incredibly powerful business case to be made here. Digital sustainability isn't some extra cost. It's actually a direct path to being more efficient and saving a ton of money. I mean, just look at Microsoft. They use their own AI to watch over their massive cloud infrastructure, and they dynamically move resources around only to where they're needed. The result? They cut wasted, idle compute power by over 20%. That is a huge saving in both energy and cold hard cash.
Then you've got Salesforce. They're taking a different but just as important angle. They're actually building carbon accounting right into their dashboard. This gives their customers total transparency, and it empowers every single person using their platform to see and manage their own digital emissions. Super smart.
And Spotify. Their story shows how even small technical tweaks can have a massive impact. They just optimized how they stored and streamed their music, getting rid of unnecessary copies of data. The result? They significantly cut their power consumption, and nobody's favorite playlist ever skipped a beat. It's just smart engineering meeting sustainability. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly illustrates the core message here. These two goals, being good for the planet and being good for business, they aren't in conflict at all. In fact, they are perfectly aligned. Reducing your data footprint just means you're running a leaner, more efficient, and ultimately more profitable operation.
So where is all this headed? What's next? Well, we're looking at a future that's going to require completely new ways of thinking, new technologies, and believe it or not, even new leadership roles designed specifically to tackle this digital challenge.
A huge piece of this future is something called green AI. Look, we can't just keep building the most powerful AI models possible. We have to start building the most efficient ones. That means designing them, training them, and running them with the lowest possible environmental cost. I mean, think about it. If we measure AI for accuracy and speed, why wouldn't we also measure it for how much energy it burns?
And to lead this charge, we're actually seeing the rise of a brand new C-suite role, the Chief Digital Sustainability Officer, or CDSO. Their whole job is to measure the company's data footprint, make sure all the IT infrastructure lines up with green goals, and ensure sustainability is a core part of every single digital project from day one. This is really the new frontier of corporate governance.
But look, this isn't all just about high-level corporate strategy and fancy new tech. There's a huge human side to this, creating a culture of digital minimalism, where people consciously delete old files, compress their media, and just avoid hoarding data. That's an incredibly powerful tool. A data-conscious workforce is a massive ESG asset.
So, when you boil it all down, every organization is basically standing at a crossroads. You face a choice. On one path, you can treat your data like a liability, hoarding it, which leads to high emissions and big regulatory risks. Or you can choose the other path and treat data as a resource to be optimized, embracing minimalism for high efficiency and building your brand as a sustainable leader.
And that leaves us with one final thought. We all know the future of sustainability has to be carbon neutral. That's a given. But the next step, the real next frontier, is becoming data conscious. So the real question is, are you and is your organization ready for it?